Oh, are we going to have ourselves some fun on today's episode of the podcast? Welcome into the House of L podcast. I am Laurence Holmes. Thank you so much for hanging out. Whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you're checking us out on the YouTube page. You can see The Office. We got the Remy Martin sign up here. They are a fine sponsor. By the way, Remy Martin coming through. They have a Chicago label. Now, this is a limited edition. The City of Lyrical Legends. Let's check this bottle out real quick before we get into the fun of this. Thanks again. It's really great being a partner of Remy Martin. Look at this bottle of the VSOP. This right here. You know how I feel about the Chicago flag. If you can drip anything in the Chicago flag, it's great. And you add the fact that it's Remy, folks. Do yourself a favor with the weather being nice for the next couple of days. Remy and ginger beer. Get at me. And when you see this in your bennies or wherever it is that you go by, the Shy VSOP, man, I'm telling you, it's where it's at. Your QR code, boom. I'll hold it there for you. You can get right on it. So shout out to Remy. My guy Jay Illa, too. He's also a Remy brand ambassador, doing it big with the Get Busy. Shout out to him. And now let's get to why you're here. You want to know what I think about the Elimination Chamber. Or maybe you don't. You probably don't. I know there are some people who are new to the podcast. And if you're new to the podcast, you might not know that a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away on the Score, I used to host a wrestling show. It started out when I was a producer. I was just producing the show with Jonathan Hood, and then he was nice enough to eventually just bring me on as like the full partner on the show. And it was called WrestleManiacs, and we had a good time, and we built a big audience there. There are a significant number of people who think of me first as the host of WrestleManiacs and not as the Bears beat reporter or the guy with the really awesome beard. Speaking of that, funny thing happened over the weekend. We went to Rick Camp's bachelor party. My guy Campy is getting married at the end of the month. I'm very excited for him. And he had a very adult, and I mean that in the best way, bachelor party. We posseed up over at Renali's in the West Loop. It was terrific. I keep forgetting about Renali's, even though they sponsor like the Odyssey softball team and stuff. But that's an easy, when I have that itch for pizza, that's an easy drive from our studios to their West Loop place, which is phenomenal. They took great care of us over there. We pregame there, and then we went to go see Tom Segura. He was playing at the UC. Chris DiStefano opened up for him, which we were not expecting at all. And it was great. It was funny. And we had a wonderful time. And then they brought us back. This is the great thing about Renali's. Like if you're going to a Bulls or Blackhawks game, they shuttle people back and forth. So here, take a tip from me. Washington Street between like Loomis and May, you can park on that street for free. Go get yourself some pizza at Renali's and go get on the shuttle bus, man. Have yourself a good time. And free parking. You didn't hear that from me, though. Anyway, we went and saw Tom Segura. He was fantastic. I don't want to give away his material. I know that he's on like this crazy 3-year-long tour, but we had fun. We had a blast. Everyone was made fun of, and I think that's really good comedy. He even made fun of himself. That was really good comedy. And then we headed back, and we get into the bar, and I had my Scully on. And people have been very nice about the beard. It hasn't bothered me, so I won't shave it until it bothers me. Like that's my rule when I grow a beard out. As long as it doesn't bother me, as long as the ingrown hairs don't go too far or it's not too itchy. It's like it's at a really good length right now too. But I walked in with the Scully, and this guy was like, "Hey man, are you Jordan Peele?" And I was like, "No." And he wouldn't believe me. He wouldn't believe me. that I was not Jordan Peele. And that's funny to me because I get that a lot. I get Jeffrey Wright a lot. Like if I were doing a movie about my life, I would want Jeffrey Wright to play both me and my dad. If that makes sense. I don't know if he's tall enough to play my brother, but he's tall enough to play me and my dad. So it just made me laugh. And then there was someone else at the bar that I knew that was with this guy. And he's like, no, that's not Jordan Peele. I was like, I can. So I got off the hook for that. But shout out to him. Shout out to my guy, David. That was very nice of him. Got to talk to, I haven't seen him in a really long time. And so it was nice to kind of catch up with him. But any whoozle, congratulations to Rick Camp. His Sam, the woman that he's marrying is a delight, and he is very lucky. Yet another person from the score that has outkicked his coverage in a way that you would not believe, myself included. Anyway, so I used to host a wrestling show called WrestleManiacs, and we used to talk about, we would go on right after Raw was on. We would talk about ECW and WCW Nitro and the Monday Night Wars. My favorite thing. We had a good time. I have been in and out of wrestling since. I think that there have been a lot of the Attitude Era. Like I grew up in the Attitude Era, so that stuff is still fun. And seeing that nostalgia make its way around the interwebs is always cool. And now a bunch of those guys have aged out, and they're in different roles. Some of them have gone on to do things on a bigger scale, like The Rock, or like Batista, like John Cena. If you haven't seen Trainwreck, John Cena is one of the best parts of that movie. And I actually really like that movie. But he's phenomenal in Trainwreck. The Marine, that's a different story. That's a way different story. But he's become, I think, a better actor since he did The Marine. If you have not watched The Elimination Chamber, this is the point in the podcast where you're supposed to hit stop. All right. For those of you who did watch it, John Cena had a heel turn. And I'm here for it. What's he been in the game now? Like 25 years? And basically that entire time, he's been a babyface. There have been a couple of moments here and there where you're kind of on the fence. But you know how people feel about Cena. Like back then, they hated kind of this Boy Scout thing that he was doing, where he's talking about how hard you got to hustle and you have to stay in it and hustle all day and all this stuff. I'm glad that he had a heel turn. I don't know if I'd ever, who's the last, like, was Steamboat? Like, didn't Steamboat go basically his entire career being a babyface? We could make an argument for Sting too. But I love the idea of him being able to challenge himself as a performer. And that's what him being a heel does. We know about all of this stuff. We know that he can be the hero that people look up to. But now, can you be a villain? And look, he's been doing that, I guess, anti-hero in his run in DC, like that, right? Like reformed villain, hero, so anti-hero. Anyway, I like this. I like when The Rock did it. I like that The Rock is kind of doing it now. I like that they're working together on this, where there was clearly beef between those guys, and Cena has talked about it. I highly recommend, if you have not listened to, I highly recommend you listen to the interview that Cena did with Howard Stern. And it lays out what his relationship was like with The Rock and how he was really jealous of him. And now he's figured out that in a lot of respects, his career is following the same trajectory that The Rock's has. Maybe he'll end up making better choices, but it's not like The Rock ain't rich. I wish that he would fall back a little bit, not say yes to everything that's thrown in front of him. But that's not why you came here either. Being a heel and the way that those two guys are now putting Cody Rhodes over. The Rock did it last year, and now Cena gets an opportunity to do it. I think it's great for the brand. I think it's great for Cody Rhodes. It allows him to be in a very familiar spot. He's good at being a face. I also think he's a pretty decent heel, but this is a perfect role for where he's at in his career right now. And for Cena, man, now you get to try all sorts of things as a performer, and you get to see what sticks. I'm not here to tell you that John Cena is a bad guy. That's not my impression in anything that he's done outside of WWE. Like any interview that I've seen or heard of him outside of WWE. But I will tell you that there is a darkness to him. And I'm glad that he will get a chance to step into that darkness a little bit. And then we can see how good he is at it. Because physically, he's one of the best physical performers that the WWE has ever had. He works hard to make matches look good. He's physical, like he's physically imposing. And he does a good job of being that dude in the ring. And now we get to see, all right, let's get into this. Like, why are they working together? Why is this a thing? How dark can you go? What places will you try to manipulate with Cody Rhodes? How much shooting is going to go on here between these two guys inside of the feud? So for me, it is a major thumbs up. Major thumbs. It's so smart of everyone involved, like getting The Rock back involved where he had kind of drifted back into face after WrestleMania last year. And now he gets The Rock is final boss. I think it's his second greatest invention. Like The Rock at the end, the transition of The Rock from the end of the Nation of Domination to him being WWE champion, I think was incredible. Like the way that he went from heel to face or back and forth, and the crowd loved him. The pops that he would get when he would come back from after shooting a movie or whatever. The final boss thing, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because he can lean into what people think about him at this point in his career anyway. And now we get to see what Cena can do with a similar opportunity. So it's thumbs up. It's great. And look, you guys watch this whole podcast if you're watching here on YouTube, and John Cena is right here. And you saw him nodding along to all of this. John, you're good with this, right? See? If he approves of this podcast, then you should realize that there's going to be some tremendous stuff. So for me and John Cena, we say, do it with me. Peace.